Welcome to Into the Blue, presented by Penelope Bourbon, a weekly look behind the scenes of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Wow, guys, good morning. And I don't know how you're feeling on this Monday morning. I did not get much sleep last night, and I don't know if it was because it was a late night or because my mind is still absolutely racing from what was an absolutely insane 2026 NHL Stadium Series. Julie, I know you obviously had a very up close and personal look down by the glass. I think I was getting some weird looks up in the press box. Steve and I got to talk a lot on the radio broadcast about it. The best comeback victory in franchise history. They had never had a 4-goal comeback win in franchise history, and the Lightning said, let's save it for one of the biggest attendances of all time, and let's do it in our home state of Florida when it's 40 degrees outside. Like, you couldn't have scripted it better. Absolutely incredible. What an absolutely incredible experience. Like, shout out to the NHL, to the Tampa Bay Lightning, to everybody that made it happen, because down 5-1 in the second period, Jake Gensel said it best post-game, this game had literally everything. And I mean everything.
Yeah, it did. I honestly can't believe what we witnessed last night. I'm just like, you have these games and you have expectations for them and for the teams in them. And then last night was the hands down the best outdoor game I've ever witnessed in my entire life, whether being there or watching it on TV. And I would say it's got to be like one of the best games I've ever watched, bar down, like of anywhere in the world, because like the goal 11 seconds in, by the way, like was just insane. And my friend took a picture because I was sitting right where Brandon Hagel like came up to the glass and scored and celebrated.
I know exactly what picture you're talking about. I thought that was a funny one. I appreciated that.
There's so actually that, and then when Kucherov scored, I'm just sitting there, mouth agape, like, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, wow. Like, I'm 2 years old watching my first ever hockey game or something. It's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And just losing my absolute mind. I mean, and then of course, okay, there's just like, there's so many things that happen in that game. And what I do love is that, I mean, down 5-1, and it's like, as broadcasters, we're kind of like, I'm like, I actually, okay, here, I'm sorry, I name drop a lot on this program, as I say. I texted Mark Messier, quite literally. Let me read it. I was like, this is not the team I have been covering for the last month. What did I say? This guy said, yikes, this is not the team I've been covering. And he said, Boston is big, everything going right for them. And then I wrote, narrator, and then everything would change. And like, it was in that second period. I mean, they did benefit a lot from, honestly, Boston taking a lot of really bad penalties. Like, that's too bad for them.
Well,
I feel empathy toward them for really messing it up, because they were up 5-1 and they could have shut it down and they didn't.
Yeah, and I will say this, for those of you, if there is anybody listening right now who didn't watch this game, first off, I need you to pause the podcast. Please come back and listen later, but you need to go watch the game start to finish, because you're going to hate watching the first period, but you're going to love every minute after that. I promise you. The Tampa Bay Lightning, right? Julie mentioned Brandon Hagel scores 11 seconds in. It's the fastest goal to start any outdoor game in NHL history, which was a crazy good start. And the roar is how Ryan McDonough described it. The roar in that building when that goal got scored. I mean, I was literally still opening the NHL media website on my computer when I'm still like trying to set up my notes and getting everything ready. And Hagel scores on that goal that I think really kind of surprised Jeremy Swayman a little bit. And he
first
scored.
Shot, yeah, just
place went nuts. And you're thinking like, nothing is going to go wrong tonight. Like, this is like, boom. Here we go. How many nights this year have we seen the Lightning have that kind of start, right? Like, here we go. And instead, Boston says, not so fast, right? They score the next 5 goals. and they really dominated the first period from there. I mean, they had 20 shots on goal in the first period. Like
20 shots on goal.
The Lightning have finished games this year without allowing 20 shots on goal. Yeah. And so you're like brutal first period. And then Boston adds 2 more in the first 10 minutes of the second period. They're down 5-1. And from there, it was all Tampa. And really, the turning point, as crazy as this is going to sound, was a tilt. Was a tendy tilt. Andrei Vasilevsky sees Jeremy Swayman taking the blocker to Brandon Hagel's head and says, "Not so fast." And Vasi jumps out to center ice. And I don't know how much we appreciate the fact that Andrei Vasilevsky is like, the personality of Andrei Vasilevsky is tremendous. Like and it's truly like, I know I shouldn't say we, because I think everybody in Tampa Bay really does appreciate the big cat, and he's such a great quote. Like, he's so good. And like, he had the quote the other day talking about how when he was a kid playing outdoor hockey, and his mom would sit in the apartment building and like the way up top in the building, and she'd look down from the apartment with a cigarette in her hand, and she would just look down and like, you good? And like, and he's a phenomenal quote. And like, they were talking about how post game, he's like, it was an honor. And like, he said, I'm just glad that you said yes. And he said, like, we were having a good time with it. And he said, like, we had a really good talk after the game, and like him and Swayman both were just really happy that it happened. And like, what a sport, right? Like, you got 2 guys punching each other in the face, and after the game, they're just both, and Swayman said the same thing. Like Swayman's talked about wanting to have a fight in his career in the past. And he said, like, post game, he said, did I want it to be against the biggest and strongest goalie in the NHL? Probably not. Like, but to have it happen in the Stadium Series outdoors, like, how cool, right? Like, that's super cool. But that really did turn the scales. Kucherov said it after the game. And you know how close Kuch and Vasi are. Like that, of course, like he said it. Max said it. Multiple guys in the locker room said that was the turning point of this game. And so they come out of that. The Lightning go on the power play. Bjorkstrand scores on the power play. I don't know what Mark Kastelik was thinking. Bjorkstrand scores on the power play. Kastelik goes after him. Nothing happens from that power play. He was all over him. He was all over everyone. But you could see the look on Bjorkstrand's face. It's like, what's going on here? And from that point on, it was like Boston just looked rattled, which made no sense to me, because at that point, you're still up 5-2. And Boston from there on, I know that the Lightning just had like I just wrote in the back check, like it was Gasparilla weekend for the Lightning. The Lightning just had their parade, but Boston was the one taking the parade to the penalty box all week. Like, it was crazy on Sunday. What was 11 penalties, 8 power plays for the Lightning. And Boston can say like the officials, whatever, but those power plays that led to the 5-4 at the end of the second period, there were a couple of clear penalty calls. And the one that really kind of did them in was a hand closing your hand over the puck with them already on a 5-on-3. That's a penalty you cannot take if you're the Bruins, and Tampa Bay took advantage. They scored, 5 seconds in on that shot from the point by Radish, and then they still have a full 5-on-3 to work with. And the Lightning are going to score. Their power play's been the best in the NHL over the calendar month. They're clicking. That was the one thing I think the Bruins could not do in that situation, and they did it. The one way I think the Lightning were going to claw back into that game down 5-1 was multiple power plays, and the Bruins said, here's 8 of them.
Yeah. And it's like they unraveled. And as you mentioned, a lot of the skirmishes after a puck, or a lot of really, I don't want to say the word stupid, but just like, stupid penalties where you're up 5-1. Maybe you get a little bit bullish and you're thinking, all right, well, we got these guys. I mean, it's 5-1 in the second period. And then you just start like not gripping your sticks too hard, but you're like getting frustrated with the fact that you could tell that obviously, especially with them getting power plays, they were getting more shots, or they started to be able to set up in the zone, right? Because like they weren't offensively able to do that in the first period, Tampa. And like their defense looked like I was like, what is going on? And like all these odd man rushes, and it's just like so uncharacteristic Tampa. It's like, what is going on? And then you give them something to like give them a bit of confidence and like get them set up. And then we get the Ratty Daddy's goal. And then of course, Nick Paul. And it was like, because I went over to go get ready to interview at the what was it? Second intermission? Yes. And someone from the NHL told me, well, they're down 3 goals, so you likely won't interview anyone, which I'm not going to discuss on how I felt about that statement. Anyway, so then I went back to my seat, because we probably still would have interviewed someone after that anyway, just because we're the Lightning broadcast. But I go back to my seat, and within that amount of time, goes from 5-2 to 5-4, and things are certainly quite different at that point. And then I would say, I mean, I filmed the goalie fight because I was watching Vazzy. Like, I saw how Swayman acted around Hagel, and I was like, ooh. And then I just saw Vazzy like coming, like, because
Instantly.
I was sitting right, kind of like on that side where Vasilevsky was, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, he's going to the red line. I'm like,
Yep.
he's gonna do it. I just flipped out my phone and I'm like, get this on camera. And then I instantly, immediately, like, when you see a goalie fight, you put that online as quickly as possible for the people, because I would say, and what I loved when that you brought up the fact that both of them had mutual respect for each other for this fight, because back of your mind, like, you never know if you're going to get a goalie fight ever, even if you're a player that plays out. Like, seeing a goalie fight is like seeing like a white tiger. You're like, wow, oh my god, like, this happened.
What
And
is that?
seeing
2 in
like,
2 weeks now, too, in the NHL,
yeah,
right? We
and
just
this
had
one
one.
was so much better.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah. Under the
oh my
lights of Ray
god,
J, right? Like, oh, yeah.
so much better. And the fight was so much better too. And my gosh, Andrei Vasilevsky, like, stick tap, glove tap, everything. He absolutely destroyed Jeremy Swayman. I believe it. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. And that guy, just the lefty, I don't know if Swayman knew he was a lefty. That was
Okay.
beautiful.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because maybe like, I shouldn't say the best, but one of my favorite parts of the post game media scrum was we're asking Jake Gensel and Brandon Hagel about it post game, and Hags gets asked about the fight, the goalie fight, and he's talking through it, and just about what Vasi means to this team, and seeing Hags is talking about how he didn't like that I was getting punched, and it means a lot to see him stand up for him. And at the very end, he kind of grins and and he goes, "Yeah, lefty," and he grins and he just starts laughing, and because it's funny, like, because Swayman, that's another thing Swayman said, is he wasn't prepared for the lefty, right? Like, when you grab a guy, you just assume you're probably going to be taking punches from the right, and that is a big advantage when they start coming from the other way. And it's you have to find the clip of Hags. It's really great. And Coop said too, he wasn't ready to see Vasi throwing lefts, but Vasi said post game, he said, "I've been telling you guys for a while." He said, you media guys, you just don't listen." He said, "I told you I throw lefty." So he had some good jokes post game
So
too.
he'd been thinking about it.
Yeah,
Also, if you
he's
don't
been
throw
considering.
lefty, I would say start learning how to throw lefty.
Maybe it's an
because
advantage,
that's
but
usually who wins the fight. And I would say, just overall, my parting thoughts on all this, and maybe not parting thoughts, but it was cold AF last night. And I'm saying that as a Canadian. I'm saying that as someone who lived in Winnipeg, in Saskatchewan. I am softer now, but I have having them have this experience first and foremost in Florida. People of Florida, God bless you. You had to sit out there in the cold, but that's what we had to do to be able to have this outdoor game. And hats off to the NHL. You could not have had a better outdoor game. The pomp, the circumstance, the weather, the game. It was like tick, 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 every single thing. And it went beyond. I would say it was like, hey, these are our, like, we hope these things happen. And then it was like, Tampa was like, hold my beer. Like, watch out, honey. It's Gasparilla weekend. Like, we're going to make this thing a real big party. And boy, did they ever. And I just think, when I was texting a friend, I'm like, man, it's just like nights like that, just even on the ice, like, take away everything else. Of course, it was a stadium series and everything about that was unique. But that game, it's like, man, I love this game so much because you just never know what's going to happen. Like, anything can happen. And especially with this team, I actually had some friends from Toronto being like, wow, how does it feel to be covering a team that can come back down 5-1, like against the
Yeah,
Bruins, or like, down 4-1? There's a lot of jokes there from 2013. I won't go into it. But just
yeah,
even like
yeah,
seeing a team that can do it. And I think they'll go over why we got ourselves in this position in the first place, right? You have to do that, looking at the tactics defensively, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is maybe this is one of those games that during playoffs that like you look back to and you're like, look, everything was different. The ice was different. You had to deal with crap, like you're outdoor. Everything was different, and you still, in a very difficult situation, came back. You were the Undertaker, Doc Giff, and so I would show that to them, being like, "You guys can do anything." Like, and maybe not to get them, not in like an ego sense, but like to be like, get back out there and you
yeah.
find that dog. You can do it.
Yeah, just unreal game. And like the atmosphere, the weather, it was unreal. It really was. And like we talk so much about like all the guys that have played in the many outdoor games. By the way, Ryan McDonough is still undefeated, and the guy's played in, what is it, six? I think is it 6-0 or is it 7-0 now? Like the
I don't
guys
know.
the guy's played in quite a few, and he's never lost. So Ryan McDonough is the outdoor game king. But it's crazy. You look at a guy like Jake Gensel, and he said he thought it was just an unreal experience, and that guy's played in some big games. So for somebody
Yeah.
like that to come out and say like it's
All of the, like, so many of them have too,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's really cool. I thought it was really cool. And he said like I don't think it gets much better than this, like this
No.
outdoor game in NHL history. And I think he's right. And a big part of
Honestly,
that game too.
what's the NHL do as to follow up something like this?
Good luck.
You
Good
can't.
luck. It's gonna be tough. And
The bar is set to, you've now put the bar so high you can't clear it. Like, you already, and that's okay. Let it live as number one,
well, and
and then just
that was a
do
lot
the
of the
rest.
feedback, right? Like that was a lot of the feedback. You look at from around the NHL, they said this is the best outdoor game we've seen in a while. That they said like this
And it
is.
was in Florida.
Yep, they said we're setting a new standard with this one, so that's awesome to hear. On another note, Julie, we've been talking about it for a little bit here, seeing Victor Hedman back on the ice. We talked about Andrei Vasilevsky picking a great time for his first NHL fight, and what a time to see number 77 back on the ice too. He makes his return to the lineup after a 22-game absence with the elbow injury. And Coop did say post game, obviously they knew when they said he was going to return, they wanted to limit his minutes. It wasn't going to be the typical Victor Hedman 25, 24-minute night,
Hmm.
but Hetty did play. We saw the Lightning go 11-7. We've seen more 12-6
Yeah.
as of late, but they did play with 7 defensemen for that reason, so they could kind of help limit some of those minutes for Hetty. What'd you think? Obviously, it's always good when you have your captain in the lineup, and 22 games is a long time for any player, but it's always good to see 77 back on the ice.
Yeah, 22 games, and then you come back to a game that's completely different from anything you've ever
Yeah,
experienced in your entire life. And you and I both had heard Coop talk about it this week. Like, I think it was a bit of a 50-50. It might have been even more in the other way, in the sense that, like, this definitely obviously was a motivation for Hedman to get back, and he talked about it. But I remember Coop was saying, like, you have to balance enthusiasm with toughness, because like Hedman wants to play no matter what. He was like, at the end of the day, they're all kids, right? Like, we're all also just 8-year-olds walking around. So when you think about it, it's like, okay, I did a hit in the last game too, about it, just that Hedman had said, I mean, he was drafted here, he's been here the whole time, having an outdoor game here, everything about it, like, you just want to be a part of it. Maybe that sometimes blurs a bit of your vision on, like, should I be playing in this game? Maybe am I? And it was like, I'm glad that they had him in, regardless of what his, like, if this was a normal game, would they have had him in type of situation, but that they managed those minutes so that he was able to have this experience, because the guy deserves it, of course, without a doubt. And you wanted to also make sure that he was didn't hurt himself or anything like that. And that was a big part of that too. But I remember him saying like, and I put my hit on the other day on the broadcast was like, they hadn't ruled him out for this game. It didn't, the way Coop was intonating in some of his media availabilities was like, I would like, our goal is targeting the Olympics, right? Like for him to be back for him, like, and then kind of working our way through the games backwards in a way, like, can he make these ones? And this one was, I think, probably earlier than they had actually anticipated. But as I said, after he practiced the day before, like, unless he comes to the rink saying like, I don't want to play, like he's going to be playing. So that was good to see. We just to, pivot a bit, obviously, just it was tough to see, obviously, them losing Anthony Cirelli in the game. I'm hopeful that it's not anything too serious. As Coop said, it was a bit of a stinger type thing.
Yeah.
And I saw him walk off the ice because I was going to interview him after the first intermission. And he just kind of like, was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like was going to go get some treatment. So that alone felt like, okay, he's like walking off the ice. He's hopefully this is not that bad in the long run, right?
Yeah, well, and I think even Coop post game sounded fairly optimistic. Anytime you call it a stinger, I feel like the fact that you're able to diagnose is a bad word for it, but instead of saying, we don't know yet what we're looking at, I feel like that's maybe a positive sign. But it is an injury. You never know. But he said, obviously the hope is he'll be okay. And he did acknowledge, Cirelli again is a guy who's on the Olympic roster. We just talked about Hetty, and the hope is he'll be good for that. One quick note on Hetty too. I thought it was funny that Coop said that Sweden can take a deep breath. He said they can, all of Sweden can take their deep breath.
Because they were worried. Like we talked about Team Canada.
Sweden's had a lot of injuries. Yeah. Like Hedman aside, they've suffered a lot of injuries to that Olympic roster. So it's good to see him back. But like Team Canada aside, we talk a lot about like the Lightning injuries. Cirelli would be a big one, and so you hope he's okay. In a similar vein, more positive developments, and you mentioned like wanting guys to be part of the outdoor game experience. We saw Charles-Edouard Dastou, who's currently on IR, take part in the skate this week. I think people were excited to see that. Obviously has missed the past couple of games. We saw him take that kind of knee-on-knee collision earlier. I guess that would be last week. Now it's Monday. See, that outdoor game has me just completely bundled right now. I know what day of the week it is.
Was that a Saturday or what?
I know. So last week. But Emil Lilleberg, also, we got to see him back on the ice again, which was good. And
I haven't been here for him playing in a game.
Right. Like when I didn't even think about that. That's right.
In their creamsicle Buccaneers uniforms, I was taking a video and I was just like looking at the names on the back of the jersey. And I was like, Lilleberg.
Yes.
I was like, who is this? Like, obviously I know who it is. I'm just like, wow, he's back. Like, this was surprising. So obviously a very good sign. And so as we know that they have been just shorthanded with so many guys being out. It's great to see them back, and Point too.
And the big one, I was just going to say, Braden Point skating with the team and looking pretty fleet of foot, by the way. Like him under the tent the other day in that practice, he was taking line rushes. Like he was, I don't want to say full participant because in the official line rushes, he was skating technically as an extra with Curtis Douglas. When they started doing their game day rushes, if you'll call it, on that practice day. But he was doing full drills and really moving well. And albeit when you're Braden Point, you move pretty well to begin with. Like I was laughing. I'm like, I was talking to somebody else, like, it's crazy to me what you don't know where he's at health wise right now, whether it's, 70, 80, 90%, but you'd love to know what 60% Braden Point, what his speed ranks
right
next to the average NHLer at 100%, just because he's so dang fast, like just watching him on the ice, it's incredible. So, but just great to see him on the ice. And Coop did say like, the importance of letting guys like that. And he even looped guys like Max Groshev in, right? A guy who technically was assigned back to AHL Syracuse on Sunday to activate Victor Hedman and for him to play in that game. But Grosh was around for the skate and got to take part in warmups and everything. Just, to have those guys be around was a big part. And they want those guys who have helped them get through all of these injuries to be part of this Stadium Series experience. So pretty cool. And the hope is that all these guys are going to be coming back here and maybe for Cerulean Point, hopefully taking part in the Olympics. And we'll see with that Olympic break quickly around the corner, because Julie, we are somehow 2 games away from that Olympic break. And albeit 2 games away, they are 2 massive games for the Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we say that every single podcast because this Atlantic Division is absolutely insane. So the fact that the Lightning were able to get that crazy comeback win the other night against yet another Atlantic Division opponent, the Boston Bruins, they don't have much time to rest because albeit all the craziness of the outdoor game, they're going to play a Buffalo Sabres team that suddenly is having their best season in quite a while this year.
Right.
Tomorrow night on Tuesday. So they're going to go up against the Buffalo Sabres, one of the better teams over the last little bit here. And then no time to rest because in come the in-state rival Florida Panthers shortly after that on Thursday. Like you look at the schedule.
I would watch out for that game.
You look at the schedule for the Olympic break and there is no time to rest. What do you expect from these 2 games other than absolute chaos? Because I feel like that's all the Atlantic Division is, particularly when you look at what's coming up here before the break.
It's interesting because I'd be curious how Cooper decides to manage it, because he had talked someone, I think it was Ed, asked him the other day, like, you don't really have an Olympic break because you have so many guys going to the Olympics. And he was like, yeah, I haven't really worked out how this is all going to work. Like making sure guys get some time off, or like that they're not time off, but like the machine is still running post Olympics. And I had asked Bruce Cassidy when I was doing an interview with him, like, what did you learn from 4 Nations and then coming back? And he was like, honestly, nothing about coming back, because it was like, you can't really manage anything about the fact that you have this tournament in the middle of the season. And you kind of just like, there's no script on how to do it, because you also don't know how long some of these teams are going to be in the Olympics. Like, who knows who ends up making it all the way to the very end? Who knows who's out early? Like, I mean, there are some teams you would imagine might not make it all the way, but it's like, we don't really actually know how to manage it because it is just something that is completely different. The whole experience of the Olympics is overwhelming and incredible. And I am leaving for it in like T-5 hours. So it's been a real hoot and nanny for me. By the way, someone told me the other day that his mom loved that I used the word hoot nanny a lot. And I was like, well, I appreciate that. That subtle pickup of that word that I like to use. And so I would say, what if I was coaching this team, which clearly I'm not, and I would never will, I would be worried about that. I would be not worried, but like that Florida Panthers game, I would be like, guys, don't let yourself get caught up in their antics. Like, no, you don't want to get injured. Don't want to get suspended for when we come back. Almost like let them run their zoomies around you and get all caught up in their BS, and don't let them lure you in. And that would be a game I would say I would sacrifice. Like, okay, we want to win, we want to get 2 points, but we're not going to do it at the expense of our health. And that would be my biggest thing, because as we know, these Panthers are dirty and they will take guys out, and we don't want to see them take guys out that are looking to go make history, live their dreams, go to the Olympics, and have potentially the first and last time they'll ever be able to go to do something like this. And that is very important. Even though it isn't the NHL, it's important for these guys, and we know that. So if I were Coop, I'd be like, almost this one, don't take it too seriously. Win it, but don't get caught up in it.
Well, and even like the Buffalo Sabres, like I said, they're in the top 10 in the NHL over the last month, right? I mean, you haven't been able to say that about the Sabres for a long time.
I'd say focus. Yeah, Sabres.
Right?
Let's go. Let's figure out, maybe our defensive structure a little bit better, because we did allow 5 goals. Let's not forget, against the Boston Bruins.
And Julie, I think it was you that brought up the other day, like Dominic James saying, like, stay where your feet are. right? Like for a young guy like that to talk about that, it's interesting. But I think the good thing about this team is they enjoy the outdoor experience, but I do think they're also very good at staying in the moment. So I think that now that they've had this experience, I think they're going to be able to move past it. And,
Yeah.
I do think they're going to be able to stay focused on what's ahead. And for the guys going to the Olympics, as excited as they are, I do think they know they have to stay locked in. And they're all vets, even the guys that are going for the first time. It's not like they're 22-year-olds, going that are, in their first year in the NHL. So I think that's a good thing for the Lightning too, is they're pros. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we'll
And
see, but it should be 2 good games.
you mentioned a really good thing before we came on, but just how Coop said, I think it was that like they kind of let out a collective like sigh after this game, like the Stadium Series game, because there's so much built up this entire week. And Pat Maroon was talking about the fact like, you've got people coming into town and they're asking for tickets, and then there's Gasparilla, and everyone wants to like go to these concerts and do all this stuff. And then you have this massive game. Your adrenaline is just popping. Your adrenal glands are just going, going, going. You're enjoying it. Shiver me timbers. Definitely agree with that graphic that was on the board there, because it also took a lot of energy to just be there to stay warm. And then you want to experience it all and be like, wow, this is great. And can we just say, man, the theatrics of that game, like the Pirates, the cannons, the guy coming out with the scroll and whatever he was saying,
Yeah.
Steve Levy on the boat. I put it up on Instagram. I watched during the national anthem. I just saw like Steve Levy standing in the light with his hands over his heart, like for the Star Spangled Banner. But he was like on the ship, and he was dressed in like full pirate gear. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, content moment. And I just zoomed in on like Steve Levy. I was like leading us into, and so there was just so many extra little things. And now it's like, great. We were where our feet were. We enjoyed it. We got so into it. We saw everything. And now it's like, okay, we can cross that off the to-do list in a way mentally. Like that took a lot. And the costumes, everything. It's like that's a lot to plan. So I think everyone's grateful that it happened, and is probably grateful that it's over right now, because you can't live life with the Stadium Series game every day. Like,
True. Yeah, it's a lot.
Many people might want to, but I mean, if Florida keeps these temperatures up, like you might be seeing more outdoor games here.
Possible. It's possible. You can't have an outdoor game every day, but if you're looking for something to do, you could call the Blue Line. And we do appreciate all of your guys' questions. We've gotten a lot of questions over the last couple of weeks. So many, in fact, that with the Stadium Series this week, we didn't even have to put out a new question.
I was gonna say, I'm like, oh, did you put something out? Like,
we didn't even have to
open my phone.
We didn't even have to this week with a Stadium Series, because we've had so many good questions, which is how great you guys have been. So if you are looking to send out a question to us, you can reply to one of our posts on X or Blue Sky. We will put those out in the future as well. But you can also call 813-301-6749 to leave a voicemail. Julie, we had a lot of people who wanted to know about a family skate after the game, if there would be one, what the deal was. There's always one for an outdoor game, typically.
After the game?
Well, there was a lot of questions if there was going to be one, because there weren't any details, right? You see the Stadium Series, the Winter Classic. There's always the family skate where you get the pictures and stuff.
I know.
And we did get one.
We did
get a family skate after the game. And so it was pretty sweet. Wow,
that must have been a late one there at the
It was late. It was late. So it was pretty cool to see all the family coming out on the ice. There weren't a lot of skates, I will say, but it was pretty cool to see all the wives and.
What time were you there till, bud?
I didn't get home until 2 a.m. last night, I will say.
What?
Yes, but it was pretty cool to see all the significant others, the moms, the dads. And
I'm glad they had that experience.
Family, friends. Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing too, is I know this organization really wanted to give the players that opportunity. So I thought it was cool that they did find a way to give them that, because this is a big thing for these people, and
Mhm.
especially when it's 41 degrees outside and you do get that true outdoor hockey experience.
Yeah.
It's a lot of these guys talk this week about it. It takes them back to those days of playing on the pond with their parents, maybe with their dad or mom who helped them lace up the skates. So
And
for
their
those of
kids
you who
wouldn't have
asked,
really had this experience, right? Like
right,
for the
they're
most
playing in
part, 'cause they're
Florida,
living in
right?
Florida.
So it's cool to get to see that there was a family skate. So it was cool to get to walk down and check that out.
I love that. That was the one thing I was most sad about, was the fact that there was well, I mean, for me, there was no media skate or something like that we could go get on the ice and just kind of, goof around a bit, do the gritty. That's sort of what I like
Oh
to do with
wow, do the
games.
gritty on skates.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to see
Oh,
me doing that. That's for
I'll
sure.
show you. That's my thing.
That's you do the gritty
I
on
did
skates.
eat it when I was in Central Park, and my skates were like butter knives, and I was
See,
trying to
that
do the
sounds like
gritty.
content. That sounds like content.
Yeah, yeah. I look more like Buddy the Elf in the mailroom,
Oh god.
when he's doing like the, I don't know what, Russian dance that he's doing instead of actually the gritty. I'll send it to you. I put it up the other day. But those are the things that, like, for all of us experiencing it, were really fun. But again, it's not about us, obviously. I mean, it is about the fans, and about the whole community, but I'm so glad that their families got to do that. Like, that's like a lot of it, right? So
Yeah, it's really important because the family is what they make a lot of sacrifices over the
yeah.
course of the season, right? So it's cool that they get to experience stuff
Especially
like this
those
together.
wives. They do a lot more.
Yeah,
They need more credit. We need to have a
for
wife
sure.
shout out, because those ladies are working OT to make things
Yes,
happen.
yes. Our second question, and we're gonna alter a little bit. I'm sorry, Ron. Ron Johansson asked, "Can we get an update on Braden Point?" Like we said, he is skating and he looks very good. So that is very, very good news for this team. We will see.
Yeah, I feel confident in him being. I don't know if how much he'll get a game in this week at least, but yeah, he's good to go for Team Canada. That's my unofficial official report from a non-insider insider.
That is a title
I'm
right
going
there.
off vibes. I'm going off vibes.
Going
No,
off vibes. Going off
yeah,
strictly vibes.
I have some insider knowledge. I feel as though he will be ready. He'll be fine to go.
But like again, the fact that he's skating, like I said, he's still on IR as of today, Monday, but he looked really good, on the ice. And I think we saw him go down, and you never want to see that, especially with the way he was playing. And I just think,
I
like,
know.
when he did get hurt, we were seeing the best hockey that we had seen from Braden Point this year. He really was
Yeah.
buzzing, and that was a big reason this team was on the run it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still 17-1-1 now in their last 19 with the Stadium Series win. They've found ways to win without Braden Point, but he really was contributing.
1-1.
Nuts. It's insane.
What does that go back to? What date?
December 20th, before the holiday break.
Okay, so I've been here since the 28th.
Yes.
So I mean, like, causation, correlation, I kind of say that a lot, but like, I'm not gonna lie.
So we're still holding on to that one, eh?
Hello. After last night's game, we are holding on to it.
Okay.
If things had gone sideways last night, I'd be like, yeah, okay, all right, maybe the magic dust is gone, whatever. But nope.
So we'll see, though. But I was going to say,
hang my hat on anything I possibly can.
The reason I picked this question from Ron was, if we do get the return of Braden Point here, do you foresee it coming before the break, or do you?
I think you rather.
Do you think does it make sense for them to get him a game before the break?
If I'm them, if I'm Coop, I give him Buffalo. I ain't letting. I'd be like, but you can't really like hold him out for Florida. I just don't want him going up against those Panthers. Just keep him safe.
Yeah.
Stay as long as you can. So then, okay, if that in that regard, I'd be like, maybe, bro, we just don't have you playing these games.
Yeah,
because we can't.
He's got to be ready, right? You don't want to risk it. We have seen guys this year already try to come back. I
do not trust those Florida Panthers. Okay, look at me. Sure. I'm sounding like a lifelong Tampa Bay Lightning fan, but I have watched as a neutral before all this, and I was like, I don't like how they do their business, and so I'd be like, no, we're playing chess. We're not playing checkers here.
It's fair.
Long game.
But Ron, the big news is Braden Point is back on the ice, and that is something that we hadn't really seen before this last week, and that's great news for this team because especially with the way they've been buzzing without him, you throw in a guy who's scoring at will over the NHL the last several years. Look out! I mean, again, he was really starting to find his stride here before he went down with injury. So you just add one more offensive piece to this team, and you can only imagine what could possibly be coming. So we'll see.
That's what I think. That's what I'm thinking. We got a lot of pieces here that are popping.
A lot of pieces, a lot of options. Who else has a lot of options?
Got a lot of things that he could, potentially look at. We'll say. I'm very excited. The roster freeze comes into effect in 2 days.
I was going to say it's quickly approaching. It is. It's right on the corner. So is your plane, by the way.
Yeah, and so is me not officially done packing yet to go to Milan.
All right.
I was I'll deal with everyone from CBC who I'm working with. They're all posting getting to Milan, and I was like, I can't look at Instagram because I was actually supposed to fly there yesterday.
Just
and I was
turn
like,
off notifications.
I was like, please, can I stay for the Stadium Series game? And they're like, sure. Yeah, great. Of course you can. You can come just one day later. But then I just was seeing everyone getting acclimated to doing the Olympics. And I was like, oh no, I'm behind on that. And I was like, don't look. You can figure it out on the plane or something like that. So, yeah, I'll be, heading over there and I'll be saying hi to 10 of the different guys that are going that I know. And then of course, Coop, who will probably pretend like I don't exist. And I'll be like, remember me? I'm actually going to bring a Tampa Bay Lightning hat just to be like, he'll see it, Yeah, I make it sound like there's gonna be 500 people there trying to interview him, which there very well could be, but yeah.
You never know. We'll have to wait and see. But I'll tell you this. I don't know if Italy's going to have Penelope Bourbon. I'm going to guess no. We might have to work on that one. But you might have some good wine options. But I'll tell you,
I'll
can find Penelope
Bourbon. Spritzes, my friends.
That's fair. You can find Penelope Bourbon, however, at Benchmark International Arena. And Penelope Bourbon is a proud partner of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And whether you are at Benchmark International Arena or you're raising a glass at home, Penelope does bring fans together. One pour, one moment, one win at a time. You can find Penelope Bourbon at Publix or right here at Benchmark International Arena. Go Bolts. And with that, Julie, we will close with our plus minus segment. This is going to be a tough one because what a week to try to pick a plus. What is your plus in a week of so many positives?
Honestly, I know it's an easy layup, but it's the goalie fight at an outdoor hockey game in Florida.
Yeah, the goalie fight's an easy one. But why?
The goalie fight in the situation
of
what it's in, and it's it's the perfect thing. I asked Max Crozier after the game. I was like, "Where does that rank in things you've seen in hockey?" And he was like, "It's number one. Number one thing I've ever seen in hockey was that." I was like, "Yeah, no notes. I completely agree. No lies detected."
Yeah.
What about you?
That first off, I can't say I disagree with Max Crozier. The press box was going nuts when that happened. And even the very neutral national media were like, oh man. Yeah, it was crazy. My plus, I'm not gonna lie, I had a hard time not picking the goalie fight, but I'm like, that's gonna be too easy, right? So I'm glad you picked that one because that was gonna be mine if you didn't. It's got to be meeting Elliot Friedman for me. I got to meet Friedge this week, and he's a big reason why I went into this field. Growing up, I listened to 32 Thoughts, and in high school I used to get yelled at for not doing my homework in class and reading the 32 Thoughts blog, and so it was pretty cool to get to meet him and listen to what the latest submissions were for the crazy raccoon submissions that all the fans have been sending to him on the podcast over their grill and raccoon stories that they share. So just a great, super nice guy who was super generous with his time, and he was obviously here to check out the Stadium Series setup and talk to some of the guys, and it was great that he took a couple minutes to chat with me and last year when I had my gallbladder removed, he actually he sent me a video saying feel better, and
Oh, wow.
it
I
was
love that.
so just a super great guy, and it was cool to finally get a chance to meet him. So one of those guys I've always really looked up to, and really inspired me to try to reach this level, and so it was cool to get to meet him. So it's kind of a full circle moment for me, just another one to kind of check a box. I guarantee you he probably has no idea who I am.
No,
But
he will. He's smart like
it was
that.
definitely a really cool moment for me.
I'll be working with him in Milan, so I'll tell him. I'll debrief this with him, and he will remember it. He's he's a very kind, smart person,
Oh
and
yeah, he seems like just a great dude. So it was
I met
cool.
him when I was at CBC doing social media for the trade deadline day once, which was just like when Twitter had just started, and I was just sitting there like tweeting whatever they were saying on like the panel, and I remember being like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever done." And then they invited me out for beers afterward, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I just like sat there and like listened to Elliot Friedman talk about he was just talking about stories, and I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And ever since then he's been so nice.
It was kind of funny because he left, like he was walking through the office and he left, and as soon as he walked out, like Brenner and Bucky both looked at me like just how, like, oh, are you good? Are you good? And I was like, that was crazy because don't get me wrong, I grew up as an Oilers fan, because so like Wayne Gretzky is my Wayne Gretzky, but I was like in a way professionally, like Friedge was the guy that I like grew up like always trying to emulate. So don't get me wrong, I'll never be as talented as Elliot Friedman, but it was cool. So horrible transition here, Julie.
Yeah, I think we should be doing the minus first before the plus, just to end things on a positive note.
That's fair. What is your minus?
My minus is trying to pack up my entire corporate housing I've been in, because it's like I'm not just packing for the Olympics. I'm packing to get out of this apartment. So I have a friend actually coming to help me. She's going to take one of my bags that's going to stay in Tampa, and while I take the rest of my stuff to Milan with me. And it's just very difficult. Like, we all have too much stuff. I'm just going to say that there. Don't buy any more stuff. You have enough stuff. And this isn't even my stuff that lives in my apartment in New York. It's just stuff I've like accumulated in Tampa. So I have been trying to pack this apartment for like a good solid week. Like that's where we're at right now. And also stuff where you're like, well, I might need this for this night, and I might need this for this night. So I'm just looking right now, like all this stuff that you're looking at right now has to be packed. And it's I just can't wait to get on that plane and be like, okay, end scene. We start the next chapter of this thing, because right now it's just a bit of a lot.
Yeah, packing's the worst. So that's a great minus. And I'd say that like with, I don't know if there's such a thing as a great minus, but that's a good minus. Because packing's the worst. My minus is that there's no such thing as time travel, because we need time machines, because I wish I could relive that Stadium Series game 1,000 times over. That game should live on forever. That was 10 out of 10. I don't care. You can have an argument over the first Winter Classic game of the greatest outdoor game ever. Tampa, you guys absolutely killed that. That was unbelievable. And then you throw in the on ice aspect of it, the comeback, the goalie fight. We got to figure out this time travel thing, man. Because if I could put that game in a bottle and relive that one over and over again, I mean, sure, you can watch a video of it, but that's a once in a lifetime moment, and we need time travel, because, man, I wish don't get me wrong. I'll enjoy telling my kids about that one someday, but my minus is that we can't go back and relive that one.
But you know what's so great about it is that it had such a strong impact on you and so many other people that will, if you've seen Inside Out, like that will become a core memory for you.
Oh yeah,
and so you will now have that. Like, had that game not been like that, you wouldn't have that, right? But like, this is like your neurons in your brain are creating this to be like, you will be able to recall this as like for me, and sorry for our American listeners, like that's like Sidney Crosby 2010 for me. It's like core memory. Boom. Ouch. I'm like, I recall it. And that's just how life is. and same for any Bruins fans listening to this, masochists, of course, is that, that recalling for them will be, they'll try to bury that one. Like that's not one you want. But Tampa Bay Lightning fans, you guys, man, as someone from Toronto, I gotta say, you guys have a lot of good stuff going on. Like, holy banana sandwich. The vibes all the time. Consistent, amazing vibes with this team. Very lucky.
Unreal. You guys brought it once again. And once again, Julie, we brought the time. I'm looking at the time in the top left corner, and we just keep that thing ticking. So we will let our listeners go, and I will let you go because you
only simply because I gotta get going.
have a plane to catch. So enjoy the Olympics in Italy. We have 2 more games here, guys. We cannot wait to let you guys enjoy the final games before the Olympic break. It starts tomorrow against the Buffalo Sabres, and then one more Battle of Florida before the 2026 Winter Olympics. We can't wait. Julie, enjoy your time in Italy, and hopefully we get some great games. I know we will. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Into the Blue.